Hey everyone, and welcome to WDIM Plus, where today I'll be breaking down the 6th episode of the Dexter New Blood miniseries titled Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. Much like the prior episode, this one really pushed forward the multiple storylines present and brought Dexter into direct conflict with the villain of the series. After almost leaving Iron Lake, Harrison continues to thrive in his new life, but will no doubt once again have to face consequences for some of the extreme behavior that he has displayed. I think that trust was the main theme of this episode, and how the characters' relationships are developed by their ability to trust one another, which obviously is not good for any serial killers in town. But before I get into all that, I wanted to thank you for clicking on this video and ask that you please remember to hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Also, if you do come back each week after watching Dexter, please hit that subscribe button. And for those of you that do not know, I also have another YouTube channel where I discuss sci-fi properties, and coming up this week I will have a new video out on the series Raised by Wolves. I will leave a link in the description and at the end of the video to my other channel if you would like to check that out. The episode begins with Harrison taking Kurt's advice about being nice to the person that upsets you, as he does all the morning chores for Dexter at his house. The ghost of Deb says that she used to do the same whenever she pissed off their dad, but I think this is just Dexter's understanding of what she did and not the actual reason Deb behaved like this. If you recall, Deborah had a lot of feelings of neglect from her father, mainly because of how much time he spent with Dexter. So in actuality, when she was being nice to her father, it was so that he would take an interest in her life like she felt that he did with Dexter. I think this is what Harrison is doing here, but Dexter misunderstands his intentions and believes that Harrison is acting this way because he believes that Dexter is still upset about his overdose. Dexter notices that Harrison has filled out an application at Kurt's truck stop and is not happy about it. He believes that Kurt being nice to Harrison may have something to do with what happened with Matt, so he's apprehensive about allowing Harrison to work there. Even though Dexter states that he does not want Harrison to work there, Harrison says that he's doing it anyways. Next we see that Kurt is desperately trying to fix the face of his last victim after he had to deviate from his ritual and shoot her in the head. After not being able to reconstruct her face, he destroys it with his hands. This obviously has Kurt on edge and probably causes him to act a bit more erratically for the rest of the episode. On the road, Dexter is pulled over by Angela in a scene that mirrors one we saw earlier this season. However, Angela is not there for Jim Lindsay, she is there for Dexter Morgan, which also foreshadows the last scene of the episode and shows him the obituary that she printed out after learning of his existence. They go to the police station and Angela allows Dexter to explain himself. For the most part, Dexter's explanation about his disappearance to her is honest and Angela seems to believe him. However, she is disgusted that he abandoned Harrison, and we saw her behave this way earlier in the season when discussing how her daughter Audrey's birth mother had abandoned her. Almost immediately, Dexter tries to understand how Angela found out about his prior life just as Molly Park walks in the station. Since Molly was in town to cover the story with Matt Caldwell, and that story is seemingly over as far as Dexter knows, he starts to believe that she may be onto him. Adding to that theory is that she has covered the stories of the Trinity Killer, the Bay Harbor Butcher, and the Ice Truck Killer all on her podcast, which Dexter was also all intimately involved in. Molly, though, is still there for the Kurt and Matt Caldwell story, and she tells Angela that they should continue to work together. She says that she wants to go to talk to Kurt one-on-one, but Angela tells her to stay away from him, a warning that she's obviously going to ignore. Kurt arrives at his truck stop and notices a young woman asking for money. This is obviously his MO for how he finds his victims, and almost finds a new one before the woman's boyfriend arrives. Kurt becomes even more frustrated by this when Harrison suddenly arrives. He lets him know that he wants the job even though his father does not want him to, and Kurt forges Dexter's signature on the resume. Since Jim Lindsay isn't Harrison's father's name anyway, I guess it really doesn't make a difference. Kurt wants Harrison to start the next night, but Harrison says that he is unable to because he has his first wrestling meet. It turns out that Kurt is also involved in the local wrestling team and that his son was a captain. Not so slowly but surely, it appears that Kurt is trying to replace Matt with Harrison, which is another thing that will cause a problem between him and Dexter. Once Kurt finds out that Dexter killed his son, he may try and get revenge on him by doing the same. If Harrison does become close with Kurt, this betrayal would surely crush him, so this plotline between them all is really coming to a head. Meanwhile, Dexter finds Molly Park's podcast and listens to her entry about the Bay Harbor Butcher, who the public believes is James Dokes, but we know is in fact Dexter. Molly states that she found someone on the site Reddit that claims that James Dokes went out of the country for many of the kills that occurred. Maria LaGuardia also tried to bring this same evidence to light in the 3rd season after James Dokes was accused of the crimes, but the captain at the time did not allow her to pursue it because the case was very bad for public relations for their department. It also seems that Molly believes the real Bay Harbor Butcher is still out there, and while we have not been given a ton of clues that this is the case, it could very well be revealed that, like Harrison, Molly was able to find Dexter online after all these years and is tracking him as the Bay Harbor Butcher. Harrison and Dexter go to therapy, and it is obvious that the issue is that Dexter is still closed off. Harrison is willing to open up with Dexter and explain his past, but Dexter still tries to gloss over huge truths in his life, like the murder of Rita, Harrison's mother. You really have to feel horrible for this kid, and Jack Alcott has been killing it as his character, no pun intended. At one point, Dexter asks if they should be talking about his dreams or something, and this may be a reference to the first book in the Dexter series named Darkly Dreaming Dexter. Angela is still working on the Caldwell case and is convinced that Kurt is hiding somewhere after learning that Matt was not in New York as he said. Logan is not able to disassociate his relationship with Kurt while speaking with Angela about the case, which is understandable in a small town. But it seems that when it comes down to it, Logan is a pretty good cop, so if they do learn about what Kurt is doing, I don't think that Logan will help him. Dexter makes dinner for Harrison and wants to talk, but Harrison feels it is a waste of time because Dexter is never honest with him. I almost feel like at this point, Harrison is going to have to witness Dexter killing someone like Deb did in order to truly understand him. Dexter is not able to be truthful with someone without showing them who he really is, and besides Deb, Dexter was also able to get close with characters like Lumen and Hannah after they learned the truth about him. Instead of trying to make amends with Harrison, Dexter continues to look into Molly and goes out for a beer with Logan under the guise of wanting relationship advice. He learns that Logan and Molly have broken up, which Dexter associates with her now having no reason to be in town and becomes even more suspicious about her. In her room, Audrey is playing an acoustic guitar. I may be wrong, but I think that the melody that she is playing is a rearranged version of the original theme song of the series. Audrey also shows that she can take care of herself and grabs a pair of nunchucks before she realizes it is Harrison crawling through her window. While there, Harrison admits that he has hurt people before and that he still thinks about hurting others. Audrey talks about her past as well and how she feels like an outsider like Harrison does. The next morning, Angela finds them in bed together and drives Harrison to Dexter's house. It is obvious to Harrison that Dexter did not know that he was not at home at the time, as Dexter is still obsessed with understanding why Molly is in town. He tracks Molly and Kurt down to a local bar and is able to use his phone to record their conversation. From the recording, he learns that she's on the hunt for Matt and is not interested in him. When Dexter hears Kurt state that he wants to take Molly to talk to Matt, he knows that something is really off since Matt is obviously dead. He follows them to Kurt's cabin, which he quickly recognizes as a serial killer's lair. After briefly considering letting her meet her end, Dexter intervenes and stops Kurt from being able to kidnap Molly. While reviewing the room, Dexter recognizes that Kurt is possibly the killer that Angela is looking for. Kurt is even more incensed by this disruption of his process and goes all Andy Bernard on the wall. When Dexter was able to mess with the Trinity Killer's MO, he also became very erratic and even attempted suicide at one point, and I believe that we are seeing the same type of breakdown with Kurt. Molly understands that Dexter saved her and thanks him for not making her an episode on her own podcast. As she walks away, Dexter thinks to himself that Kurt is definitely the serial killer that Angela is looking for, and that it is never good to kill the family member of a serial killer. I believe that this may be a reference to Miguel Prado, played by Jimmy Smits, who was the villain of the show's third season. Their relationship began after Dexter killed his brother Oscar, and while Dexter and Miguel become friends, this fact is relentlessly hanging over Dexter's head. Before Dexter kills Miguel, he does reveal to him that he did in fact kill Oscar. At the wrestling meet, Harrison has a tough match with a bully and ends up breaking his arm. As a former wrestler, I would like to point out that this situation would never occur. It appears that Harrison has the other kid in a submission hold and the kid taps out. And this is not a part of high school wrestling. This is more akin to mixed martial arts, which of course has no place in high school. After the match, Kurt goes to congratulate Harrison and is pushed off by Dexter. It is unclear if Dexter does this because he's being protective of his son, or if it is just because Dexter now knows that Kurt is a serial killer. The reason that Harrison is becoming close with Kurt instead of Dexter is because Dexter is still acting closed off with him. Kurt, on the other hand, is very happy to give advice and praise, and that is the relationship that Harrison is looking for with Dexter, but one that Dexter cannot provide until he can be honest with his son. We know that Kurt is a killer and is also not being honest with anyone, but he's playing the part better than Dexter at this point. Angela and Officer Teddy go to search the caves and find a man-made crevice, which leads to a room with a body. From the bracelet on the corpse, Angela is able to figure out that this is the body of her missing friend Iris. Dexter picks up the phone and Angela states that she needs Dexter Morgan, not Jim. This means that Angela is looking for his help with forensic evidence and may not want to go through the proper channels and alert people like Officer Logan if someone in town is involved. Well, that was everything I saw, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?